First contact in crisis. The crystalline spires of Haven Prime sparkled under its triple suns as High Chancellor Lyra stood before the Emergency Council. Her translucent form pulsed with distress as she projected the latest devastation reports into the chamber center. 3 more colonies had gone dark in the past solar cycle, their essential energy cores drained to nothing by the voidborn swarms. "We've lost contact with the Gemini system," Lyra announced, her voice resonating through the crystal chamber. The defensive arrays failed within hours of first contact. The Voidborn are evolving faster than our technology can adapt. The council chamber erupted in concerned whispers, their crystalline forms flickering with anxiety. The Selenians had spent millennia perfecting their energy-based civilization, building magnificent cities across dozens of star systems. They had never needed weapons. Their mastery of energy manipulation had always been enough to deter any threats. Until now. First Officer Kai, Lyra's most trusted advisor, interfaced with the central database. "High Chancellor, I've been analyzing alternate defense strategies. During our latest deep space surveys, we discovered something unusual." The holographic display shifted to show a small blue-green planet in an unremarkable star system. "Earth," Kai continued. "Their inhabitants, humans, possess a unique characteristic we've never encountered before. They generate their own internal energy rather than drawing it from their environment like most species. More importantly, they appear to be resistant to energy manipulation." Lyra studied the data with growing interest. The humans lived on what most species would consider an impossible world, crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, and constant exposure to radiation. Yet they didn't just survive. They thrived. "Show me more," Lyra commanded. The display filled with images of human achievements, their cities standing against devastating storms, their people working in conditions that would destroy a Selenian's crystalline form, their primitive but effective technology allowing them to survive in environments that should be lethal. "They're still a young species," Kai noted. "They've only recently achieved faster than light travel. But their resilience, it's unprecedented. The Voidborn's energy-draining attacks might not affect them the same way they affect us." Lyra's form brightened with hope for the first time since the crisis began. "They're perfect. Their natural resistance to energy manipulation could be exactly what we need." She turned to address the full council. "We've spent generations avoiding contact with younger species, believing we needed to wait until they were more advanced. But perhaps it's our civilization that needs their help now." The council erupted in debate. It was unprecedented to reveal themselves to a species so early in their development. But with colonies falling daily to the Voidborn, they were running out of options. Lyra raised her hand for silence. "I understand your concerns, but the humans have achieved something remarkable. They've mastered their death world. They understand survival in ways we never had to learn. And right now, survival is exactly what we need." She interfaced with the central computer, bringing up humanity's transmission frequencies. "Prepare our fastest ship. We're going to Earth. If the humans are half as resourceful as our observations suggest, they may be our only hope against the Voidborn." As the council session ended, Lyra lingered in the chamber, watching the holographic image of Earth rotate slowly in the air. The humans would be shocked to learn they weren't alone in the universe. But something in their history, in their art and stories, told her they would understand the gravity of the situation. They had their own tales of standing against impossible odds, of fighting to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Do you really think they'll help us?" Kai asked quietly. Lyra's form pulsed with determination. "They're a species that conquered a world that should have killed them. They built civilizations in places where every day was a fight for survival. And despite all that hardship, or perhaps because of it, they still looked to the stars with hope and wonder." She reached out, her crystalline hand passing through the hologram of Earth. "Yes, I believe they'll help us. The question is, are we ready for what that help might look like?" The next day, as Haven Prime's triple suns rose, the fastest ship in the Selenian fleet launched toward Earth, carrying with it the hopes of an entire civilization. They had mastered the stars, but now they needed to learn from those who had mastered survival itself. Operation Earthlight. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the Selenian ship descend through Earth's atmosphere. The crystalline vessel caught the morning sunlight, sending rainbow refractions across the New Singapore skyline. After decades of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, first contact had arrived in the form of a desperate plea for help. The Selenian delegation materialized in the conference room, their translucent forms drawing gasps from the assembled military and scientific leaders. High Chancellor Lyra's voice resonated through the universal translator as she shared the full extent of the voidborn threat. "Your species is unique," Lyra explained, projecting images of the devastating attacks. "The voidborn drain energy from living beings, but your biology, your very essence, resists such manipulation. We believe this resistance, combined with your extraordinary adaptability, could be the key to stopping them." Sarah studied the tactical displays, her mind already racing with possibilities. "These voidborn, they attack by creating energy null zones, correct? Spaces where most species can't function." "Correct," First Officer Kai confirmed. "They generate fields that drain both technological and biological energy. For crystalline beings like us, it's fatal within minutes." Sarah smiled. "But humans already work in such conditions. Our deep-sea teams operate in freezing, high-pressure environments. Our radiation teams handle energy-hostile zones. We've been training for this without knowing it." Dr. Marcus Wong, head of the newly formed Xenotechnology Division, stepped forward. "Chancellor Lyra, your crystalline technology. It's capable of amplifying and directing energy, isn't it? What if we combine that with our protective gear? Create hybrid systems that could shield your people while allowing them to fight back." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Sarah assembled a special operations team, selecting personnel with experience in extreme environment operations. Dr. Wong's team worked around the clock with Selenian engineers, developing what they called crystal tech, a fusion of human resilience and Selenian energy manipulation. "The suits are ready for testing," Dr. Wong announced, presenting the prototype. The crystalline enhanced environmental suit gleamed under the lab lights. "We've integrated Selenian energy matrices into our standard hazard gear. It should allow humans to channel and redirect the Voidborn's energy attacks." Sarah watched as Lieutenant Maya Patel, her best environmental specialist, donned the prototype. The crystal components pulsed with light as they synchronized with her biological energy. In the testing chamber, Maya moved through simulated voidborn attack conditions with ease, the suit not just protecting her, but amplifying her natural capabilities. "It's more than protection," Maya reported, her voice excited. "I can feel the energy flows. With practice, we could turn their own attacks against them." High Chancellor Lyra observed the tests, her form brightening with hope. "In all our history, we never thought to use our crystal technology this way. We were so focused on defense, on maintaining our energy patterns, we never considered adapting to work without them." Sarah gathered her team for the final briefing before deployment. 100 of Earth's finest special forces operators, environmental specialists, and combat engineers, all equipped with the new crystal tech suits. They would be the first humans to fight among the stars. "This isn't just about saving the Selenians," Sarah told her troops. "This is about proving that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to adapt, to take what others see as weaknesses and turn them into advantages." The combined fleet prepared for departure, Selenian ships carrying human warriors and hybrid technology. As they rose through Earth's atmosphere, Sarah stood on the bridge beside High Chancellor Lyra, watching her home world shrink behind them. "Are you certain your people are ready for this?" Lyra asked. "The Voidborn are unlike anything you've faced before." Sarah thought about humanity's history, about all the times they'd faced the impossible and found a way to survive. "Chancellor, everything about our world tried to kill us. Every step of our evolution was a fight against conditions that should have been impossible. We didn't just survive, we learned to thrive in those conditions. She gestured to the stars ahead. The Voidborn think they can win by creating hostile environments. They're about to learn that they're fighting the species that mastered living in hell. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had spent its entire existence preparing for this moment, though they never knew it. The Voidborn were about to discover what happened when you pushed a species that had turned survival into an art form. Operation Earthlight was underway, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Battle of New Dawn. The Selenian colony of New Dawn hung like a jewel in space, its crystalline structures reflecting the light of a distant blue star. Commander Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of the UEFS Resilient as the Voidborn fleet emerged from hyperspace, a swarm of dark, angular ships that seemed to absorb the starlight around them. Multiple energy signatures detected, Lieutenant Maya Patel reported, her hands dancing over the crystal-enhanced tactical console. They're deploying their void generators, creating null energy zones around the colony's outer defenses. Sarah nodded, her expression grim but determined. Just as we expected. Signal all teams. Execute Operation Blacklight. Across the battlefield, human-crewed ships moved into position. The crystal tech suits they wore hummed with power, their Selenian components synchronizing with the ship's systems. As the Voidborn created their deadly energy null zones, expecting to find helpless victims, they instead encountered something unprecedented. First wave, engage. Sarah commanded. Teams of human operators, protected by their hybrid suits, pushed straight into the void zones. The Voidborn ships faltered, their sensors detecting life and activity in areas that should have been lethal to all organic beings. Lieutenant Maya's voice crackled over the comm. They're trying to adapt, increasing the energy drain effect by 300%. Perfect. Sarah smiled. Dr. Wong now. From their positions around the colony, specially modified satellites activated. Based on Dr. Wong's theories about energy conversion, they didn't try to resist the Voidborn's drain. They enhanced it, creating a feedback loop that turned the enemy's own weapons against them. Energy redirection successful, Dr. Wong reported from his station. The void zones are becoming unstable. Their own energy drainage is being amplified and reflected back at them. The space around New Dawn became a battlefield unlike any in human or Selenian history. Human operators in crystal tech suits moved through supposedly lethal environments, engaging the Voidborn at point-blank range. The enemy's energy-draining attacks, instead of killing their targets, were being absorbed and redirected by the hybrid technology. High Chancellor Lyra, observing from the colony's command center, watched in amazement as the human forces turned what should have been a massacre into a fighting chance. They're not just surviving in the void zones, she said to First Officer Kai. They're using them as cover. Sarah's voice carried across all channels. Remember your training. The harder they try to drain energy, the more vulnerable they become to our countermeasures. Push them harder. The battle reached its crescendo as the Voidborn, desperate to maintain their advantage, concentrated their energy drainage into a massive, coordinated attack. It was exactly what Sarah had been waiting for. All units, activate Crystal Tech Resonance. The human operators triggered their suit's special function, creating a harmonized energy field that transformed the Voidborn's attack into a weapon against them. The void zones collapsed, and with them, the enemy's primary advantage. Ma'am, Maya called out. They're retreating. Multiple ships jumping to hyperspace. The bridge crew cheered, but Sarah kept her focus. Coordinate with the Selenian defense grid. I want every piece of data from this battle analyzed. The Voidborn will be back, and next time they'll try something new. In the battle's aftermath, as human and Selenian teams worked to repair the colony's defenses, High Chancellor Lyra sought out Commander Chen. When we came to Earth, Lyra said, her crystalline form pulsing with emotion, We hoped to find allies who could survive the Voidborn's attacks. Instead, we found warriors who could turn those attacks into victories. How did you know it would work? Sarah watched as her teams helped install new hybrid defense systems around the colony. On Earth, we learned early that the most dangerous environments often provide the best opportunities, if you're prepared to use them. The Voidborn thought they could win by making space uninhabitable. They never considered that they were fighting a species that had mastered the art of turning hostile environments to their advantage. The victory at New Dawn marked a turning point in the war, but Sarah knew it was only the beginning. The Voidborn would learn from this defeat, adapt their tactics. But now they faced an enemy that had spent its entire existence adapting to overcome impossible odds, and humanity was just getting started. As the last of the defensive upgrades were completed, Sarah gathered her officers for a debriefing. They had proved that the Voidborn could be beaten, but the real work was just beginning. It was time to teach the Selenians how to fight back. Guardians of Light. The training facility aboard New Dawn Colony hummed with activity as Lieutenant Maya Patel led a group of Selenian volunteers through their first combat simulation. Their crystalline forms, now encased in modified crystal tech suits, pulsed with nervous energy. Remember, Maya called out, the suit doesn't just protect you, it amplifies your natural abilities. Your crystalline structure isn't a weakness, it's a conduit for channeling energy in ways humans can't match. Dr. Wong monitored the training from his lab, making real-time adjustments to the hybrid technology. The synthesis of human resilience and Selenian energy manipulation was creating possibilities neither species had imagined before. The key, he explained to High Chancellor Lyra, was understanding that your people's sensitivity to energy isn't a limitation. It's a potential advantage. These suits don't just shield you from the Voidborn's attacks. They let you sense and redirect the energy they're trying to drain. Commander Sarah Chen watched the training sessions with satisfaction. In just weeks, the Selenian volunteers had progressed from being hesitant and defensive to showing real combat potential. Their natural ability to perceive and channel energy, combined with human tactical training, was proving to be a formidable combination. They're learning faster than we expected, Sarah noted to First Officer Kai. Your people have an incredible capacity for adaptation when given the right tools. Kai's form brightened with pride. And your people have shown us that what we thought were our greatest vulnerabilities can become our greatest strengths. The Voidborn's energy drainage was our nightmare. Now we're learning to use it against them. The learning went both ways. As the Selenians mastered combat techniques, they taught the humans more about their crystal technology. Dr. Wong's team made breakthrough after breakthrough, creating new applications that neither species would have developed alone. Look at this, Maya demonstrated to her trainees, her crystal tech suit now incorporating pure Selenian crystal formations. By synchronizing our biological energy with your crystal resonance, we can create defensive fields that not only block void attacks but reflect them back with greater intensity. In the colony's strategic command center, Sarah worked with Selenian engineers to develop new battle tactics. The crystalline displays showed simulations of combined human-Selenian strike teams, each complementing the other's capabilities. The Voidborn have always relied on their ability to control the battlefield's energy environment, Sarah explained. But now we can turn every void zone they create into a potential weapon against them. They'll never be able to predict whether we'll dodge, absorb, or redirect their attacks. During one training session, a young Selenian engineer made a discovery that changed everything. By studying how human bodies naturally regulated energy, they found a way to temporarily store and release the Voidborn's drainage attacks. It's like a capacitor, Dr. Wong explained excitedly, but using biological and crystalline energy in harmony. We can turn their own weapons into power sources for our counterattacks. The breakthrough came just in time. Long-range sensors detected increased Voidborn activity. They were gathering their forces, preparing for what would likely be their largest assault yet. They're adapting their tactics, Maya reported during a command briefing. Our latest intel shows they're developing new types of void generators, trying to find frequencies we can't counter. Sarah stood before the combined human-Selenian leadership. Let them adapt. Every new tactic they develop is another weapon we can turn against them. We've proven that the combination of human resilience and Selenian energy mastery is more powerful than either alone. High Chancellor Lyra addressed the assembled forces. When we first came to Earth, we thought we were seeking warriors. Instead, we found teachers, innovators, and friends. Together, we've created something unprecedented in the galaxy, a force that combines the best of both our species. As the preparations for the coming battle intensified, Sarah watched a group of human and Selenian operators running combat drills together. The humans moved with practiced efficiency while their crystalline allies flowed like living light, each covering the other's blind spots perfectly. They worked together as if they've been doing it for years, First Officer Kai observed. Sarah nodded. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not just our ability to survive in hostile conditions, but our drive to help others do the same. We don't just adapt. We teach, learn, and grow stronger together. The warning sensors chimed, indicating another wave of void-borne ships had been detected moving toward Selenian space. But this time, they weren't facing a peaceful species unprepared for war. They would face an alliance that had combined human determination with Selenian wisdom, creating something entirely new in the process. As the colony's defense systems powered up, Sarah knew the real test was about to begin. The Voidborn thought they were fighting two separate species. They were about to discover they were facing something far more powerful, a unified force that had turned their greatest weapon into their greatest vulnerability. The final stand. The vast expanse of space around the Selenian core worlds churned with energy distortions as the largest void-borne fleet ever recorded dropped out of hyperspace. Their dark ships blotted out the starlight, moving like a tide of living shadow toward the waiting human Selenian defense force. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UEFS Resilient, now upgraded with crystalline technology that made it shimmer like a star. The combined fleet spread out behind her, human warships strengthened with Selenian crystal tech, alongside Selenian vessels crewed by warriors who had learned to turn their sensitivity to energy into a weapon. They'd brought everything they have, Lieutenant Maya Patel reported, her crystal tech suit pulsing with stored energy. Long-range scans show they've modified their void generators. The energy signatures are unlike anything we've seen before. High Chancellor Lyra's holographic form appeared on the bridge, her crystalline structure reflecting the tension of the moment. Our outer sensors detect they're using multiple layers of void fields, trying to create zones so dense with negative energy that even your suits can't compensate. Sarah smiled grimly. They still don't understand. The harder they push, the stronger we become. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. All units, implement Operation Sunforge. Remember your training. Every void zone they create is fuel for our counterattack. The Voidborn struck first, their ships launching waves of enhanced void generators that began creating overlapping fields of energy null space. But the human Selenian fleet didn't retreat. Instead, they advanced directly into the deadly void zones. Energy absorption systems at maximum capacity. Dr. Wang's voice came through the comm. The crystal matrices are successfully converting the void energy. All ships, prepare for Lightbridge Protocol. In perfect synchronization, the human Selenian fleet executed their master strategy. The crystal tech suits worn by both species began to resonate in harmony, creating a network of energy channels between ships. As the Voidborn continued to pour more power into their void generators, the defenders absorbed and redirected that energy through their network. Now, Sarah commanded, activate the Sunforge. At the heart of the fleet, a massive crystalline structure, built by combining human engineering with Selenian crystal mastery, began to pulse with brilliant light. It was drawing in all the negative energy the Voidborn were generating, compressing it, transforming it. The Voidborn ships faltered, their sensors detecting something impossible. The very energy they were using to create dead zones was being turned into a weapon against them. The Sunforge released its first pulse, a wave of concentrated power that overwhelmed the nearest enemy ship's defenses. "They're trying to adapt," Maya called out. Multiple ships attempting to change void frequencies. "Too late," Sarah responded. "All strike teams. Commence Operation Daybreak." Squadrons of hybrid fighters launched from the larger ships, each one crewed by both humans and Selenians. They dove into the chaos of battle, using their combined abilities to devastating effect. Human pilots maneuvered through lethal void zones, while their Selenian partners channeled the absorbed energy into precise attacks. The Voidborn's formation began to break. Their strongest weapon had become worse than useless. It was actively strengthening their opponents, but they fought on, falling back on pure numbers and desperation. "They're making their final push," First Officer Kai reported, concentrating all remaining void generators on a single massive attack. Sarah's voice carried across all channels. "This is what we've prepared for. All units, execute Final Dawn protocol. Show them what humanity and the Selenians can do together." The Sunforge pulsed one final time, releasing all its stored power through the network of crystal tech suits and ships. The energy wave caught the Voidborn's attack and amplified it, turning their own massive void generation against them. Space itself seemed to warp as the two forces clashed. When the energy storm cleared, the remaining Voidborn ships were in full retreat, their fleet shattered, their ultimate weapon turned into their ultimate defeat. As the human Selenian fleet regrouped, High Chancellor Lyra appeared on every ship's communication system. "Today marks not just a victory over the Voidborn, but the beginning of something new in our galaxy. Humanity showed us that what we thought were our greatest weaknesses could become our greatest strengths. Together, we've proven that the combination of human adaptability and Selenian wisdom is more powerful than any weapon." Sarah looked out at the stars, now shining brightly again where the Voidborn ships had once blocked their light. "This is just the beginning," she said to her crew. "We've shown what's possible when different species work together, learn from each other." The Voidborn thought they could win by making the galaxy uninhabitable to life. Instead, they brought together two species who could teach each other not just to survive, but to thrive. As the fleet set course for home, Sarah knew this victory would change everything. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger galaxy, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers and allies. They had proved that their greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive in hostile conditions. It was their drive to help others do the same. The stars stretched into lines as the ships jumped to hyperspace, carrying with them the promise of a new era. An era where humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy would be showing others that no challenge was insurmountable, no weakness permanent, when species work together to overcome them.